there is a new type of armor, which is called REGEN Shield.
Did EDG just axe their entire coaching staff after winning champs but keep the team?
I do think that Demon 1 is good. I just think that he's not as good as Espas.
I have hundreds and hundreds of comments telling me that I'm a moron for putting Neon in the overrated tier.
The age of the orc has begun.
Yeah, it has. The orcs that play in ranked and have no knowledge of the elders, like the Counter-Strike elders. What's up? It's Cosmic Divide, episode 40. We've got a theme song after 40 episodes, TMV. How you doing today?
That's how it works, apparently. Yeah, that's what I've heard. And apparently also one of the podcast hosts goes and records in an unknown location off on their own, away from society. Goes crazy. At the 40th episode, one of the two hosts goes crazy and just runs off into someone else's house. And a lot of people, I guess, would have thought that would be me.
Yeah, stay tuned until the end of the episode for retention and find out who that person is.
Yes, but Valorant news still going on. I've been on holiday for some of it, but I'm back now to talk about it and recap it all. It was quite interesting actually coming back and just have a whole like week go by and all this stuff's happened. You're like, wait, what? That actually happened? What is this team doing? What the fuck? Who are you?
Yeah, I know. So a couple of things. Not to leak that I'm the one in the weird location. I don't have my normal setup, so I'm not going to be able to go to like the regular screen where I can just show you, the VLR threads. We never actually read VLR threads, which is a good thing, but the news at least. So I'm not going to be able to do that. Apologies if the audio is a little bit weird, but yeah, we're still going to do the news show because that's what you guys are here for, is for our opinions, to tell you how to think about all the teams in VCT 2025.
Yes. I think let's start with some fresh news. I think that's this is hot off the presses. I mean, literally an hour ago or so. Some of this came out, and that is about Phoenix. Now, Valorant released a video. Well, I think one of the things happened that. Whoa, sorry, I just blew out my own headphones with the video there. Valorant released a video just as well of like things that are coming basically later in the year. A little video. I think it was leaked, and so they did the thing where, hey, it got leaked, so yeah,
here it is.
Just release it.
Yeah.
But one of the things in there was about Phoenix changes. Now it does actually say that that's coming in patch 9.10, which is not tomorrow's patch, right? Tomorrow's patch is 9.08.
And is that the map pool shift?
That's
officially?
the map pool, the sunset changes that were already announced and stuff like that. But if you watch that video in the Phoenix part, it says 9.10. So
okay.
This is still not coming for another, what would that be? Another month basically. But we know about them, so we might as well talk about them. And the first thing is the Phoenix's Blaze Wall now goes through walls.
Thank God.
Your instant reaction, Mr. Speaks.
I feel like this is one of the final sort of relics of the clunky era of beta Valorant. Because like, remember how Omen's teleport used to work, where he would just like not be able to teleport anywhere, and it made playing the character feel terrible. And it was
super slow.
Yeah, and Phoenix's Blaze Wall is very much the same thing. It feels like it has like really wide collision hitboxes, and it will just like randomly cut off on stuff, and it's really stupid to use, and it's like super impractical compared to everything else, and that makes it one of the worst abilities in the game. So being able to actually use it as a smoke, even though it's going to be a short lasting one, I assume, is very good. Anything that makes the game feel better when you're controlling it, I'm a big fan of. So just this change alone makes me like Phoenix a little bit more. We'll have to see whether he's viable or not later on, though.
Yeah, this to me, I had a kind of similar reaction as I'm sure most people would when I heard this. Was like, this is a change that I suggested they do for a long time. It's a change I've kind of always said that I wanted them to do. And a lot of people, when I said this in like my Twitch and stuff, would always be like, yeah, but what's that really gonna do? Will that change that much? Now that we know that this is coming, I just quickly went on Valorplant and just like thought about it for a brief moment. And I was like, this is such a massive quality of life change.
Yeah.
This is such a massive change. As you said, the Blaze was one of the worst abilities in the game. It no longer is. This is now an actual like ability that you will use, I would say, in most rounds.
It's a mini
And
harbor
you've
wall,
gone,
right? It's like
yes,
literally.
yes, it is. It's a mini harbor wall that damages opponents that go through it, which again, people underestimate the psychological impact of their HP going down.
Mm-hmm.
People, even if it's just 1 or 2 damage, they just don't like it. It's just ingrained in you that that feels bad, and so I don't want it to happen. And so people, when there is a wall that, if they go through it, they're going to take a bit of damage, and you get the little flames on your screen as well, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
like, don't do this. Like, people won't do it as much as they should, right? Because the Phoenix Wall, really, you should treat as any other smoke where you would just run through it. But I guarantee you that they won't run through it as much as they would other smokes, because it will have that psychological, it seems bad. It seems worse than it is. So that's one thing that makes it a bit better than most as well. But just the quality of life. Like, honestly, any of you thinking about this, watching this now, go on Valorant and just look at like maps where you might want to play Phoenix, and you'll just realize like, oh, being able to do this through walls, like, look at all these retake stuff I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the, and the Phoenix will last. I mean, it's not like a full smoke, but it does last like a decent amount of time to where, for instance, for retakes, right, where there is a time pressure already, and so you're not gonna wait like 10 seconds anyway, right? Like, you're gonna put up a smoke and go. Like, in those kind of situations, like, it lasts as long as you would ever need it to last anyway, because you have to go now anyway. Like, it's gonna be so much better that you can now do it through walls. Like, so much better, because there's now so many positions that you can now do it from, that obviously you couldn't do before. Like, I mean, just like as an obvious example, one that everyone could perhaps picture. Imagine you're going Abyss A site on attack now, and like your smokes player is dead. Well, now from a main, I'm gonna guess that you could just wall off heaven,
Yeah.
right, as you're entering
Just
onto the
through the
site,
wall,
right?
like in like the
Yeah,
elbow
and
part
you
of
just
main.
have like an actual smoke there. If your smokes player is dead, well, now you still have like a chance to get in onto the site and not have to worry about that straight away. Like, little things like that, and that's just like one clear example, but there are like, I was literally just going through some maps, and there are so many positions where I was like, oh, that actually now is like pretty good, that you can do this from this safe position and like get good value from this almost every round.
Right, because before, even to throw like a halfway decent wall, you would actually have to like jump peek around a corner to throw
Yes.
it, and it would still sometimes like clip the wall as you were like trying to strafe back into cover in mid jump, and it would just ruin the whole thing. So yeah, it's a massive quality of life change, but it's also just a good change for the character because it makes him relatively
100%.
useful in every round because he has a smoke now. Right.
Yes, and that's the thing, right? Phoenix's massive problem was always, hey, you've got 2 abilities that are kind of just completely useless,
Yeah.
right? And like, not, the molly isn't useless, but not great, and the wall basically was useless in a lot of rounds. You just didn't use it. It's like, yeah, no agent with 2 abilities that aren't that good is ever going to be good. Now you, like, again, you have taken one ability from like the worst in the game to like pretty good.
Yep.
That is a massive upgrade. And I don't think it can be like, people will think that this is just a tiny change, but I really do think that the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this actually matters more than you would think for this agent. Speaking of other changes, because that's not where we end. The Flash is now the signature ability instead of the Molly.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't really care that much about this, to be honest. Just because like the 2 flashes were good anyway. You would buy 2 flashes every round, no matter what, and you would use both of them probably every single round. And that was usually enough to do your job. The Molly was, I mean, the Molly's pretty good. Like, it does a lot of damage, and the fact that it heals you is really nice. The limited range on it was always kind of annoying. Like, it has like the same projectile as like a Fade sees or something like that, where it has like a capped range at how far it can go. But I thought it was a pretty good ability. Now it sounds like do you still get 2 flashes and then you get a third one if you get 2 kills? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can now get 3 or 4 flashes if you keep killing them.
Okay, so it just makes him a little bit more like snowbally, a little bit more like, let's go overheat with this character, which is good because it seems like, at least from the clip, that he still has a 6 cost ultimate, which is like
Yep.
insanely fast to farm compared to most other characters. And so if you're encouraged to overheat with a character that's going to get around an ult, like, I mean, technically you should probably be getting your ult every other round at this point, which is like really, really good. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm kind of excited. I think like he was always kind of this character that he felt really good to play, aside from having like terrible abilities. Like just the curveball and the ult felt really nice, and the volley was like kind of okay. And so he's fun to play. And when you put a really, really insane duelist player on Phoenix, even though the character is not good, they would still have like kind of outsized impact on him because he is
Yeah.
very explosive. And it's like once he gets rolling and you get that ult every other round or something like that, it feels kind of insane. And so I think this actually may put him in that position where, you know, you could potentially run the Phoenix as like a secondary duelist. He's never going to be like the entry, I don't
No. Yeah.
think. But you know, when you might run like the ISO Yoru on Haven, maybe if you don't like the ISO for whatever reason, I think ISO is still pretty good, but maybe you want to run like a Phoenix plus Yoru or a Phoenix plus Neon or something like that on
Yeah.
some map, especially a map that has like really farmable ult orbs, like an Ascent or something.
Yeah. And this one for me, yeah, I actually don't think this is as big as the Blaze change. It will, I think, make a difference on pistol and eco
Oh my god,
rounds.
you can smoke through the wall like smoke door on Ascent for your
Yeah.
team. That's a okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that was a big change. Yes, 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 that change was very big. Yeah, this flash change to me not as big, but as I said, like on ecos and pistols, I think will make a difference, right? Because you're always getting a free flash, which means you'll always have two flashes basically every round, even if you're on low eco.
Mhm.
So that's where it might make a difference, like because like Stinger, double Phoenix flash, that's a threat, right? That could easily get a kill and quickly snowball, and then then you potentially get another flash after you've used it as well because you're getting kills. Like that can be
Ah,
pretty
my
good.
sweet
Also,
summer
ult rounds.
child, assuming that a pro player will use a stinger on an eco round instead of a sheriff. What a joke.
Yeah. Also, I assume though when you ult and get kills, I haven't played Phoenix enough, but I assume that also counts towards recharging it, right? So you could ult, flash, get a kill, get a second kill, you then have another flash. Like you say, like the snowball potential in one round is pretty big. So yeah, that I think was a good change as well. And what I find interesting about that is Phoenix was never the agent that I always wanted Sage and Deadlock's signature to change.
Hmm.
I always wanted their signatures to be the slow and the Gravnet, and so I'm happy at least that I'm thinking like, oh, maybe they'll change the Sage. We know that Sage is getting changes. Maybe they'll change the Sage signature, and Sage could be somewhat interesting, which is what I've always wanted to see. So we'll have to see. But then the final change. Now this is where it gets very strange.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think we'll fully be able to understand the impact of this and how big of a change this is. But there is a new type of armor which is called REGEN Shield, which is a type of armor that can go back up to 25, and it takes HP from a pool of 50. You can't go above 150 HP. Um, I'm going to guess, and again, we don't have like the full details, don't fully understand how this works. I'm gonna guess that what this is essentially, if you're playing Phoenix and you
I don't think this is
have
just for Phoenix though. I think this is just an armor that you can buy.
oh, you think it's just a full armor you can buy?
I think it's for
I mean,
everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it is, yeah. Just by the wording, it does say kind of just new armor type. So I'm guessing, but does it regen? Well, this is the thing. I guess when you use a Phoenix Molly or Wall, it will heal the regen shield, right? Or was this just
Dude, I have no idea.
in general?
It
Because
I
my first interpretation was, hey, this is part of the Phoenix video because
right.
like Phoenix can heal. Like when he heals, he can also heal this shield, and so you get kind of like maybe like double healing impact of it, if you get what I mean, right? Like
I wonder if they
it
put it in
heals
the
up your
Phoenix
health.
video just to like obfuscate and like make it confusing for people to try and figure out what's going on.
I mean, either way, I mean, if it is for everyone, that would be interesting. Or if it is just for like certain agents, you know, obviously Phoenix being one of them, or maybe they would release new agents that had some kind of, you know, mechanic with this. It's gonna, well, we'll have to see, I guess. We'll have to see. But yeah, this is very confusing. But seems like if it is for everyone, then that would be a very significant change. That would
Yeah.
be a very significant change if like it's just a new thing that everyone can buy. I don't know how that would work because I'm watching this little clip of the Phoenix thing and I'm seeing like, you know, it starts healing at one point, but it kind of takes points from the normal shield. So you're not really getting any extra health, but then you're healing, but then why?
Yeah,
Like what?
let's just put it this way. If it's a Phoenix only ability, I mean, good, he needs help. If it's an everybody ability, my question for you is, does Valorant need more healing in it? Do we need to play Halo where every character has a shield that regenerates after you get out of combat for 3 seconds?
I mean, in Valorant, that would what? Just kind of mean that headshots are more important, I guess.
Yeah.
No one would ever use a Phantom though if you could always just heal. If you could always just get back to 150. Like
Yeah.
everyone, why would you ever not use a Vandal instead of a Phantom? You know what I mean? Like obviously, but like I'm looking here. I mean, it's strange because the first part of this clip with the Phoenix, like he has like 100 health,
Yeah.
a 50 shield, and then a 25 on top of it. But the guy said that, oh, you can't have 175 HP, which again makes sense. Like
Because
that
then,
would
yeah, then it would really mess.
completely change the game.
Yeah.
I always thought that that could be an ult, by the way, for an agent in the future, that they get like 175 HP.
Oh my
You know,
god.
they survive a Vandal headshot. Sounds like an ult, right? But yeah, just off the rip, that I mean, that would fundamentally, definitely change the game. That would be the biggest change they've ever made to the game. So I don't think it is that, but yeah, I don't know how this works. I don't know.
All,
But I
all,
guess we'll.
all I'm gonna say is we're 4 years into pro play and people still haven't really figured out whether half shields or full shields are good. And so introducing another type of armor.
If they did this, it's like, well, now a Vandal headshot is 2 to kill. Figure it out now.
I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Sage becomes the meta
I'm
overnight.
I'm gonna go play a different game.
Yeah. Deadlock came out.
Yep.
Yeah, so that one, I guess we'll have to see. More details will need to come up before I understand that and I'm willing to make definitive statements about it. Shall we move on to esports news?
Yes, but first, now that since we're talking
Go
about
on.
the duelist meta with Phoenix, I don't know if you
Yes.
saw my tier list that I put out. You probably didn't because you're not on Twitter.
Oh,
But I made a lot of
no.
people
Yes.
very mad because I put
Oh,
out
go on, I'll get it up now.
I put up a tier list with tiers that were just sort of how I would classify the agents, and the most contentious of
Okay.
which was that I put blatantly OP tier, and there's only three
Yeah.
agents in there: Yoru, Viper, and Astra with 5 stars. And then I put good and meta. So these are agents that I think are good and they're in the meta and people understand and
Yeah.
correctly rate them. Then I have underrated.
I'm looking at it now,
Yeah. And then the tier that made people really mad was meta but overrated. And these are the agents that everybody plays, everybody knows are good, but I think are overused and overrated by the general community. And of course, I have hundreds and hundreds of comments telling me that I'm a moron for putting Neon in the overrated tier, because they just don't understand reading comprehension, I guess, because I'm saying that she's good, she's meta, but I think that she's overrated because right now the general consensus about Neon from, I guess, the community is that she's more broken than Chamber was. I have many people in my replies telling me that she was more broken, including pro players, that she was more broken than Chamber ever was. And I was like, she's more broken than a guy who had a free op that drops a Sage slow, fires faster than the Marshal, and can teleport across half the map while leaving a trip that also drops a Sage slow with global range? Because I don't think that's the case. What are your thoughts, TMV?
I think you could use with some communications help. Your big problem here is that you should have put the meta but overrated tier above the underrated tier because people will look at this and just like not read the tiers
Yes.
and just think that you think that Reyna is better than Neon.
Right.
Now that is a mistake on your behalf.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you're actually saying, I'm kind of with like, and I'm kind of with you. And even if people think that they aren't with you, they are with you because like Chamber was kind of so good and so easy that everyone played him on every map.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple teams are playing Neon on every map, but almost everyone isn't.
Well,
You know.
I think we're about, based on, I watched a couple of like the off-season events,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen um just like a very strong shift towards, I think Neon is probably going to be played on almost every map by a lot of teams, which
You
I
would think that.
I don't
Well,
agree with this, but this is just what I've seen from other teams so far.
okay, let me. Where was the Red Bull stuff?
Like look
Where
at
was the Red Bull
look at
home
like
ground?
the Pacific Red Bull one, for example. You're
I mean,
getting
Pacific have always loved Neon anyway,
you're
but
getting Neon on Bind over Rays randomly. You're getting Neon on Haven is now like 100% meta. You're getting Neon on, like, I mean, I guess Pearl's a wide map, so maybe you play Neon there. I don't know. But
yeah, but like that's like you're seeing Neon on like some maps. Hold on, let me get up. Right,
Blitz
agents.
coming back,
So
maybe you play
Neon
Neon
was
there.
40%, the most picked of all of them, but Haven was the most played map.
Yeah.
So quite a lot on Haven. You know, decent amount on Lotus, Sunset, of course. Neon already was meta. None on Ascent, none on Icebox. Tiny bit on Abyss and a tiny bit on Bind. Was what it was overall. Like, okay, yeah, this I think is like an agent that is, I mean,
I mean,
yeah, good.
she's good. She's good.
I think the thing is like if you have an unbelievable Neon player, I can see where like probably what's happening is some pros are coming up against in their scrims or whatever someone who is like really really good at Neon,
Yeah.
and they are like impossible to play against. You know, like
Yeah.
if they're just stomping you and stuff like that,
To be
and
fair,
they're insane at it, then
one
yeah, maybe I could see it.
one of the main people who was commenting that Neon is more broken than Chamber was Nismo, who had to play against Dante Deos and Spike in Ascension,
Hmm.
which,
Yeah.
I can kind of understand. But even so, I still think there's like a very big disconnect. And granted, I'm not a pro player, I'm not on the server, but from watching the game, I feel like there's this very big disconnect between like how people are interacting with Neon and how and what she can do. Like with Chamber, when Chamber was first introduced to the meta, people were still trying to like jump peak corners and wide swing things, not expecting Chamber to be on every single off angle, right? And then as the meta evolved, it became okay, you must flash every corner. You have to use a drone. You have to use a dog. These things have to be used before you can go out into the open because there will be a chamber there 100% of the time. And I'm watching people play against the Neon, and they hear the Neon running at them, and they continue to hold a very tight, close angle. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, Neon's entire purpose is to break
Yeah.
these types of angles. Like that's what she does. Is she's supposed to allow you to wide swing with advantage against people that are holding tight angles at close range. So don't do that against the Neon.
Hmm.
But it's so habitual for people to play that way because they play that way against every other agent in the game. And now it's just you have to retrain your brain. Okay, we can't play these angles against this character. It's that simple. Or buy a shotgun when you wouldn't normally buy a shotgun.
Well, let's put it this way. I Valorant teams and pros, I don't think have ever been the best at adapting
Correct.
to anything. Really.
Correct.
That's not generally been their strong point. You know, even when things it takes a while, even when things are kind of like blatantly like clearly very strong,
Yeah.
it still takes a while for people to kind of recognize or change their game plan. You know, in any meaningful way. A lot of the time, I think. But for me, it's like
Just remember, Fnatic was able to pick Lotus against every team for an entire year without losing, and nobody banned it against them for some reason.
yes, yeah, that's a good example. But like, yeah, I just think that Neon it's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't
I think the
disagree.
thing is as well, it's just like a psychological thing, right? Of like when you're a pro player, you don't really notice maybe or fully maybe appreciate that hey, this raised boombot that's giving them information plus on top of a nade and an ult that, can often get a kill. Like you don't think about like the kind of small impact throughout a game that maybe an agent like Raze would have. It doesn't feel like crazy OP because you're kind of used to the agent perhaps.
Hmm.
And, it's like little bits added up over time, as opposed to a Neon who's going in with an ult sliding and you feel like I would have hit that shot if it was any other agent, but because it's this OP crazy agent, it killed me. And
Right.
that makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
Right. And that
Losing
one
a duel
instance
to
is like feels bad.
yeah, losing
So
a
it
duel
sticks
to
with
a
you.
neon sliding feels terrible. Or
Yeah.
getting like instantly lightning hands it
Yeah.
feels terrible. But in the grand scheme of things, I think there's probably at least like 5 agents in the game that are better than Neon, personally.
Yeah.
Like just in the grand scheme of like the overall map pool and like their overall impact on the game.
Yeah, and I think like again, you will get some crazy Neon plays, but also like I'm gonna be honest, Neon as a viewer, I personally don't think Neon is on like the level of like oh my god insanity. And looking at the pick rates of the agent, like it looks like a good like it's a 40% in this Red Bull thing. In APAC, it's like okay 40%. That's a strong agent. It's like on maybe a watch list for maybe we might want to nerf this, but Omen's at 73.
Yeah.
And they
Right.
haven't nerfed Omen, and that's been a good 2 years now of Omen being at,
And
above 50% at least.
And just wait
And
until
it's
Neon is constantly sending it in and people are playing Deadlock and Vice. And it's like, oh, the Neon
yeah,
is now a trillion miles away from her team and is stunned and behind a wall and is dead like every single round.
yeah, and I mean in some of these games, like okay, yeah, they can play Neon, but I don't know if you watched like T1 play Zeta Division and then Neon on fucking Bind, and it looks horrible, and it's like unbelievably bad, and it's like wow they make this look shit, and it's like why the fuck would you play this Neon on Bind when you could just play Raze and have a much better agent, and instead you're just inting going 1 for 7 in first kills first deaths because you're just running in the whole fucking map, and they were playing Vice T1 and the
Yep.
fucking wall is going up behind Depp and he's just trapped on his own, dies instantly. It's like wow this agent looks really fucking good. Like yeah, it's not like this agent is not it's not on that level in my opinion. Like it's good. I'm with you personally. I think if people think it's that good, I didn't realize that people did think it was that good, to be honest. I thought most people were just saying and thought Neon is quite good and will be and should be meta on
Certain
certain
maps. Yeah.
maps,
I have no
like
problem with Neon being meta on
three
certain
four
maps.
maps maybe, like you can play Neon if you've got a very good Neon, maybe you even push that even further, but for the most part it's going to be 3-4 maps, and guess what? There are quite a few agents that are meta on 3-4 maps.
Yep.
Sova. Sova's good.
Yeah.
Getting revealed, that's strong too. Gecko, 10-second cooldowns, that's pretty fucking good too.
That was my point. I was like, if you don't turn flashes, flashes are very overpowered because you can't see anything. Right? There's always counterplay and there's different levels to this shit, I believe.
Yes. But yeah, your overall tier list. I mean, I don't. I put. There are parts to it that I disagree, but I'd say on the whole, I agree
Don't worry.
for the most
I'm
part.
going to update it now that Phoenix is getting changed. Phoenix is no longer unplayable.
Well, where's Vice on this list?
The tier list didn't have it, and I didn't realize until I was done and had posted it.
Well, there you go.
Vice is underrated.
Underrated, you think? I mean, well, I made a video about it today. That the Vice, the Vice play I've seen thus far hasn't been my cup of tea, but I'm sure we'll get there one day.
I thought Meteors was okay on Bind, honestly.
Oh yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I there's more to it for me. There's more to it. Anyway, shall we now get to esports news?
Yeah,
Took
speaking of Meteor, actually, let's start there because last episode ended with us looking at a picture of a teased announcement from T1, and I said, "This silhouette looks like Meteor," and then we ended the episode.
You did do that. You did say that. You did say that. So yeah, let's start with T1. T1 have a team.
They
and
do.
it has Meteor on it. And it also has Buzz on it as well from DRX. So for those of you who don't know, who didn't watch any of the Red Bull stuff, their full team is Itsu, who's there last year, Meteor, Buzz, Sylvan, and Stax.
Yep.
I mean, look, you steal two, I would say, very good players
Mm-hmm.
from the other two main Korean teams. I think Stax and Itsu last year looked pretty good. Sylvan is kind of the one maybe lesser known, has been around, kind of been on the fringes, I would say, of tier one play.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a team that I think you're probably looking at, and they did win this Red Bull in APAC thing. That did have other tier one teams like ZETA, RRQ, DFM in it. So, basically tier one games. What do you think? What do you think of the roster overall, and what do you think their expectation will be for this team? Like, what are you hoping to see from this team? What's a good season for T1 next year?
Um, I mean, I think that they're capable of being the best Korean team in Pacific.
Oh, okay, better than Gen G.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people understand how important Meteor was to Gen G, because like everybody focused on obviously Karen being this crazy rookie, and obviously Texture had an incredible season, and they were just very solid like from top to bottom. But a very large part of their game is Meteor and his impact, because he's a duelist who plays Sentinel quite well, and he plays the Sentinel role with the potential fragging impact that you get from a duelist in a lot of maps. And we've seen how good that can be with teams like Fnatic putting Alfier on Sentinel. Uh, and, anytime that you have a role that's not duelist, that gives you a lot of games where they put up duelist numbers, it's a very, very big sort of advantage over teams that don't have the ability to do that. Um, so, I mean, we still don't really know what the final Gen G roster is going to look like. We don't. I think we kind of know what the DRX roster is going to look like. Um, I think DRX losing Buzz is pretty big for them. He was always kind of. I mean, he's always been on my like. He's either a top 3 duelist in the world, or he's kind of mid and not very good, and he like ranges between those two extremes like
Yeah,
quite
he's the
regularly.
metron. He's the thing doing
Yeah,
this.
he's like a sine wave oscillating between these two things over and over. But he had a pretty good season last year, and I feel like at least last year's T1 was really missing having like a super explosive player, and now they kind of have two with Meteor and Buzz, and even Stacks can be very, very like explosive at times. So they
I'd
have
say I'd say you can add Itsu to that as well, who last year I think had
yes, yeah,
a couple games where he kind of went crazy.
yeah. I think Izu is a player who is going to really massively benefit playing under Stacks this year, with the experience of Buzz and Meteor around him, and also locking into a role. Because last year he was kind of like bouncing around,
Yeah.
right? And what I saw at this Red Bull event with him playing Sova like most of the time was really
Mhm.
good. Like he could be a very, very, very good scans player by the end of the season.
Yeah. Um. What? So you think they can be the best Korean team? So what would that translate to in terms of, so they're probably getting to internationals.
Mm-hmm.
If you thought that they were doing that, how do you think that they could win any, or top four? Just like a group stage team. What do you think?
Putting me on the spot. I mean,
Oh yeah.
will Stacks get his first win ever of an event outside of after finally leaving DRX? Um,
And Buzz.
yeah. Will they win? No, that's tough. I'm gonna say no, just because I think that Buzz will have the downward part of a sine wave in an important game, and that'll cost them as it did on DRX.
Yeah, classic. Um. Okay. I mean, I
But
would
I think
say.
they'll make an event, maybe two.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. Or at least that should be their expectation,
Yeah.
right? Like they should be looking at this team and thinking we should be, making events and kind of going, getting to tournaments and maybe going deep. I kind of agree that to me they're still probably more of a kind of, like early playoff team exit kind of.
They're just going to be the new DRX, and DRX is not going to be very good this year. That's what's going to happen.
But yeah, I think this is weirdly. I think they have a pretty big range though as a
Mm-hmm.
team in terms of outcomes. Like I could see it going, like if things go bad, I don't think they would be terrible. They wouldn't be like NRG, but I could see them being like just kind of like kind of sixth place.
I love how energy
Like
is now just the standard of awful. Like this team with a
look, they
very
brought it
storied
on
history.
themselves. I don't know what to
It's
say.
very funny.
But yeah, I could see them being like, yeah, kind of middle of the pack, whatever kind of team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if it goes like really well for them, then as you say, winning might be a bit too far. But then again, no one thought the Gen Geo Heretics were going to be that good
Yeah,
last season either. So everything that we say now don't mean shit.
correct.
Yes. Who's next? Where do you want to go next with changes?
Um, well, there's been a couple today. We could just, I guess, well, God, there's been so much stuff that's happened. Let's kind of like breeze through some of the older ones. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it because people
Okay.
have probably already read
Oh,
about it.
my camera. Sorry, I'm gonna fix
So
my
just give
light.
me like a buy or sell. Demon One goes to Leviathan.
Oh my goodness. I would give that. Oh, that's such a tough one to start with. Why would you start with that? Why the fuck would you start with Demon One? Um, I'm going to sell.
Sell. Okay. I
Can
think,
I just give a quick reason?
yeah, of course.
Uh, I say sell not because I think that it will go disastrously wrong and that Demon One isn't good. I do think that Demon One is good. I just think that he's not as good as Aspas.
Yeah, I
And
would agree.
so it's a downgrade basically. Is
But what if they have
my
Ospas and Demon One? Are you buying that team?
then I'm fucking in. I've already got the left bundle. Sign me up. I'm in.
Okay.
Even if it blows up and it goes terribly, I'm still in.
Okay.
I'm there for that roller coaster. I'll buy for any reason. What
That's
about you?
uh I think I mean I just have no well, I just don't have any faith that Demon One's gonna play any other agents than Jet and like Neon probably.
Astra's back.
I mean, okay. I think I'm probably selling as well. But if Ospas is there, yeah, I'm in. I'm in for the circus for sure.
Lever or just our circus team. We love just like what we're just always waiting for Lev to implode.
Some things never change. Um, okay, let's quickly go through some of these other ones. We've got Kush and Warbirds go to RRQ. Kush is a player from where did he play last year? He was on Alter Ego, so just another Indonesian tier 2 team. Warbirds obviously was the coach for Secret. How are we feeling about this?
Uh Obviously Kush, I mean I don't know too much about, to be honest. So we'll see. I guess I mean I kind of like most of the rest of their team already, so I kind of think that they should be at least decent. Warbirds is a good pickup. I think as an assistant coach, a lot of experience. I think between Ewok and Warbirds, that's a pretty good coaching staff, I would say, for the most part. So yeah, I would buy this, I guess, but I don't know if RRQ are gonna be, top of the league.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I feel like they kept the same team that they had last year, and last year, I mean, one of their main problems was discipline, but also I just like I agree. I think that Warbirds and Ewok are both fine coaches. I think the player quality is pretty good, but nothing about this team makes me think that they're going to suddenly just massively level up and become, international level world beaters. But I guess the same could be said about Genji last year. So
You never know.
that's just going to be my response to everything where I don't really know what's going on. DRX signs Hyunmin And freeing. Are we buying or selling DRX this year?
Well, you already kind of, I think, mentioned that you're selling.
Sell. Short selling this team.
I think the stocks will be pretty low on this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people will be like you. You're selling at the dip. I'm going to buy the dip.
Okay.
I'm going to buy the DRX dip. I think the reason for that is because Termi, like, I'm not expecting them to be, like top of the league or anything, but I think they have a good level, I think, of finding players who are at least pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if either of these players or anyone that they pick up, ends up being really good, like players like Bane, Foxy9, right? Like they aren't awful. They're like still tier 1 level players. They're still good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna trust that they're gonna bring in people who are at least at that kind of like good level, and then who knows, maybe you find someone who's like potentially very, very good. So I'm gonna buy the dip.
Okay, I think that's fair. Buying or selling Chet coaching again in VCT?
Wow. Now, we'll just give a bit of context just in case someone is under a rock. Chet got suspended for showcasing off VODs with team comms that he was not allowed to. And so got suspended until the end of Masters Bangkok, I think.
Yeah.
Which is the first Masters of the season. I would say... I mean, there was already rumors of him going to Counter-Strike, so I'm going to say... it's all nepotism, though, so I'm going to say he will.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm buying it.
I'm also going to add a little bit of extra context. He didn't get suspended just for that. he got suspended. Oh. He got suspended because Riot doesn't like him, is the case, because he's been constantly criticizing Riot.
Yeah, that's true.
For the last several years, and Riot were like, well, this is an opportunity to get this guy, and they did. I just think that if it was somebody other than him who hadn't spent the last 2 or 3 years telling Riot that they're doing a shit job with their esport, he probably would not have gotten a 6-month suspension.
Yeah, I mean, well, ask and ye shall receive, I guess.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, funny in a way, I suppose.
Yeah, it happens.
But yeah, I mean, I personally think he will be back.
Okay.
You?
I'm gonna say no. Okay. I think the age of like Crashy's Victor FNS is over. Essentially, I mean, FNS I know is playing this year, but he says this is last year.
And the age of the orc has begun.
Yeah, it has. The orcs that play in ranked and have no knowledge of the elders, like the Counter-Strike elders. It's gone. We're all just low level
Valorant
mouth breathing grunters that just run it down every round. That's why Neon's meta. Phoenix is coming back. Yeah, we don't have time for Counter-Strike strategy anymore. So Chet's done. He's going back to Counter-Strike.
What's next?
Okay, let's do 2 more quick ones. Team Liquid announces Camo, Lohan, and Yautzen in a tweet by their CEO talking about Camo's checkered past. They haven't actually announced any of these players, but they also just released Yappy today officially. So Team Liquid changing, buying or selling them in 2025.
I mean, the stocks are unbelievable. I mean, you hate Team Liquid already, so I can only imagine. I can only imagine how low you are on this team. I think you've probably found new lows that you didn't know existed with this team.
I'm over leveraged like GameStop.
But I can't buy this team. I have to be selling this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll buy a stock just for nostalgia's sake. I'll think about TI 2017 when Matumba Man won TI. You don't know what I'm talking about. Let's move on. ZETA Division unveils their full roster, and we got to see them in action against T1 in the grand finals of Red Bull Homeground. What are your thoughts on the new look ZETA Division, which consists of Dep, Sugar Zero from the previous roster, and then CLZ, ZETA, and XDLL, all of which came from Fennel, who were
I
a
thought
solid tier 2
they.
team.
I mean, obviously, it's always difficult to tell when you're, you know, they've probably had what, a day or two of practice, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, I would guess. So that's always, difficult to kind of judge them too much. There was definitely some what the fuck is going on rounds in that tournament. Like some rounds of just unbelievable, both unbelievable play by them sometimes. Some of their play sometimes looked like 2022 Valorant, and not just 2022 Valorant, but ranked like plat level 2022 Valorant. In some of those rounds, like it was tough to watch. Some of it. There's one round in particular that just makes me laugh every time I think about it. Dep running it is on that bind game on Neon. He runs up down short with his wall. They send in a deadlock gravnet.
Mm-hmm. And just
He
grab nets
gets
him.
hit by the gravnet.
Yeah.
He sits there taking out the thing.
Shots from bench.
Meanwhile, his wall has dropped, and he just gets shot in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, what are we doing? And then there's other times when like someone did like the widest jump peak ever. I just can't.
Oh,
And
I
there's just two
remember
people
that.
waiting there, and it was just so funny, like just watching this like widest jump peak that looks like a player who's just learned what jump peaking is doing this jump peak, and then there's just two pro players there who just instant shoot them in the head. That made me feel worse about it. But there were some other times. Was it CLZ in a game? Was it on Lotus or something where he won 2 1v4s?
Yeah.
I think against T1. It was insane. Um, I personally, I still don't trust. Like, I like that they're still going with Japanese teams. I think that's cool. But I don't fully trust it. So I'm gonna sell. What about you?
Okay. I'm gonna buy because I think they're gonna
Because
be
you
better
like
than
them.
last year.
Well, I'll tell you one
Um
thing. Their bundle better be better than last year's. Fuck me. If it's not, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
every time I see Depp, I think Depp is the one who always has the classic on. It's either him or Sugar Zero, one of the two. And every time I see them pull out the classic, I'm just like, what is that? Why is that in the game? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think should also say Jonta is listed as the head coach. He was the coach of
Yeah.
Fennel. And XQQ, my dapper gentleman, is back. He was actually the one sitting behind them on stage as the head coach during the game, probably because he speaks Japanese.
Yeah. I would gonna
Uh,
guess that it's because he can speak Japanese.
yeah, and so I would be curious to see how this works out. Carlisle is still there as an assistant coach now.
Still one of the strangest moves that's ever happened in any esport, I would guess.
Yeah, but I think I'm mostly back just because I think I thought Cioto looked quite good last year, and also at this tournament, I thought CLZ looked pretty good last year and looked quite good at this tournament. XDLL is kind of a question mark for me. Dep is still the truth. Sugar Zero is still good, and most importantly, XQQ still looks good on stage. So I'm buying this team.
Okay. You can have fun watching this team win 3 games next year.
I won't be watching them very much, I don't think.
Well, we'll see. Any more?
Let's just go ahead and get to some of the bigger ones.
Okay.
We can talk about these a little bit more. Les officially joins Vitality. Derke officially joins Vitality. The rumors have been confirmed, and we have what looks to be a super team forming in France.
Buy. Or do I go for the rare sell? Ooh. See, because this team has Leviathan vibes, does it not?
I'm just a little bit worried about the personalities of Safe, Trex, and Les mixing. I guess Safe and Trex have played together quite a bit before, but we know that Safe has the tendency to be maybe a little bit outspoken, maybe intimidating to his teammates. I don't know. Les also similar, potentially likes to call out his teammates. I don't know. Like, we don't really have the inside information. I think maybe the more interesting thing is that they kept Kicks, because both you and I were pretty sure that Kicks was out, but Kicks is still here.
I mean, we'll see though, because they also still have Sender, so we'll see if they. I would assume that if that's the case, then Kicks is going to be a sub. Who knows? Maybe they'll fully invest into Valorant, like I hope every pro tier 1 team does, and get an academy team.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great if they did that. But look, I'm looking at these players. I'm looking at these names.
Yep.
One thing I noticed is that both Trex and Derke are both called Nikita.
Yep.
So that's got to be helpful.
True.
Or maybe that'll confuse them. Someone saying Nikita, get to B, and 2 people run to B, and it's like, oh no.
All right.
Maybe that'll be maybe they'll just chaos. Maybe they'll just be fucking chaos in this team. Who knows? But yeah, all seriousness, I think. See, I think it's gonna be tough. I still think it's gonna be tough because you're gonna have a new coach, a completely new, basically a somewhat new team, or big personalities being added into a team who are going to expect, the expectation is going to be through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be. Anytime they lose a game, you assume it's gonna be like real pressure. Like every game is massive pressure because like everyone's expecting you to do big things here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all new, so I think particularly early on in the season it's gonna be kind of like a big challenge to kind of just understand, or like if they can set their expectation internally, whoever, like the coach, whoever's doing that. If I was coaching this team, I'd be like, guys, look, our goal, I would say our goal is to win champs, right? Like, we've got a team that is good enough to do that, but it's gonna take some time to get there. So whatever people say on the outside, let that be noise. We're trying to win champs. If at the start of the season doesn't go great, that's fine. We're just gonna figure it out. The second split now doesn't take into account the first split either. So the literal first half of the season, we can just fully work on getting everything, going and getting, to know each other and stuff like that. And if it goes good, then great. But we're focused on the second half, is what I would say, because I think it's going to be tough for them to come right out of the gate and be better than Team Heretics or Fnatic, who just have much more of a structure already in place.
Yeah,
to where you would think the start of the season should be good for them.
I think my main sort of hesitancy with this team is I feel like Trex, Safe, Les, and Derke are all kind of hero playmakers to some extent. And there's like in like basketball, for example, you can't have like 5 shooters on your team. You got to have a couple people who just play defense and pass the ball. You can't have like 5 Kobe Bryants.
Was that you?
No, I was a defensive basketball player. Yeah, I can't shoot for shit.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But like, is there going to be enough to go around, where everybody can kind of like have their moments? Are people going to be kind of like stepping on each other's toes, trying to like make a play as opposed to supporting their teammates? I think that could take a while for them to gel, because all of these guys are very much the type of player that will like take the round into their hands, and if you have everybody trying to do that,
there's gonna be a lot of
yeah.
interesting moments, I think, where like 2 of them do stupid shit and troll, and then but you're in a 3v5, but then someone else wins the round for you anyway. There might be quite a lot of those rounds for Vitality, particularly early on.
Yeah, that's sort of what I see happening. But I mean, like you said, like the quality of the players is insane, and so it's hard not to think that they will at least make an international tournament.
Yeah. Any more
moves?
Yeah,
there's quite a few. Okay, let's talk briefly about China. I'm just curious what's going on here. Titan Esports, which has RB on the team, has now signed Haodong and After, who's the coach of EDG, and Haodong was the former player turned assistant coach. So did EDG just axe their entire coaching staff after winning champs but keep the team?
I don't know. See, interesting here on VLR when you click on the thing, and who knows what's going on, right? Because it feels like China is kind of, a bit kind of separated, and it, perhaps takes longer for things to filter across. But Haodong isn't listed as a coach here either.
Yeah.
I assume that he would be, but if he isn't, then that would be very funny. Yeah, I don't know what EDG are doing. You would have assumed that they would keep at least one of them. Like, I can understand, like, if you said, okay,
Because Muggle
you
also
know,
left.
yeah, I could assume, it would be very normal for them to go, okay, Haodong, thanks for being here, thanks for everything, but we're just gonna stick with After in the team and bring in someone else, or even if they said After, we're gonna promote, we love Haodong so much, we're gonna promote Haodong to be our head coach, and someone else come in, like all of that would be fine and make sense. To go with a completely different coaching staff after winning champs
Mm-hmm.
and like after winning champs and like very clearly getting better. Like, like
Yeah.
your ideas being good and your fundamentals being good and like, players making consistently good decisions and seeming like you have good game plans. That does seem pretty strange.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I don't right now. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from VLR, but I think right now, like they don't have any coaches except for maybe this guy Sword9, who was a former player and was like an assistant
Yeah.
coach for them last year.
But like the thing
yeah.
is as well, like when you say like how did EDG win champs, you would have thought thinking about old EDG that they did just out firepower everyone. But that like it had its moments, but it wasn't like what I mean? Like it didn't feel like when EDG were winning, it's like, oh, they're just winning every gunfight and that's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't it felt like, they're playing a normal game of Valorant against another good team.
Yeah.
And, they're winning sometimes off their gunplay, but they're also winning because their ideas sometimes, stuff like that. Like so I could understand if they had won champs just because all their players just aimed better than everyone else. But yeah, this strange. But what do we know, Mr. Speaks? What do we know?
Not much. I mean, they won champions, so I'm gonna just,
Yeah, maybe Kang is just maybe it's a coup.
yeah, he just wants to run the team. They've looked up to PaperX for so long. They finally been like, no more coaches, no more
I'm just
IGLing.
imagining Kang running back to the coach's chair, like every time they take a timeout, like he has to sprint to the coach's chair and then sprint back to play.
I can see that happening.
Imagine. And for a walkout as well. Like he walks out and then he has to sprint like around the stage again and come back out for the coach's walkout.
Yeah, it's good.
That would be great.
I
Or he
think
just
you're cooking
is a
with
really
that.
big admirer of Shazam and he just wants to replicate like Shazam in 2021
Could be.
when there was no coach there and he's the one who has to do the little fist bump. Maybe Kang just wants to do the fist bump.
Maybe they'll hire Shazam as their coach. What's Shazam doing these days? Anyway, let's talk about Turkish people.
In general.
So both BBL and Foot have made some changes. Foot have picked up Zeus, who's like one of the hottest prospects in the Turkish league.
I'm just going to assume young Turkish player, very good.
And BBL is not fielding any Turkish players. I don't think. Maybe one Turkish player is the rumored roster. I've heard rumors that Yampy is going there. Heard rumors that Chihuahua is going there.
Yes, our boy
Chihuahua.
Yeah,
fine gentleman. But thoughts on BBL saying no more Turkish players?
Strange. Quick note on Chihuahua, he cheats at card games. If anyone wants to know. But yeah, especially considering how much. And interesting, there's another thing here that says that they're partnering with Pacific.
Yeah.
For 2025, who of course is the team full of
Comeback,
insanely good,
Rose,
Turkish players,
Rock, yeah.
right? So that's all pretty interesting.
Is this like a temporary 1-year roster, and then they're just gonna bring up like the Pacific guys?
Yeah, like are they just gonna then just like be like, oh look, all the Pacific players are old enough now, yay, that's our team.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe. But yeah, I strange decision, I guess, because you do think like, so many, the kind of, joke now is that of course like any young Turkish player equals good.
Yep.
And so you would think there might be enough. I mean, and look with the foot move that we kind of briefly pushed over, but of course, I'm pretty sure that's a replacement of CNED, right?
Yeah. They played the Red Bull home ground and they had Yeta J on Neon and Zeus playing Rays. So yeah, it looks like CNED might be out as well.
Yeah, so I mean that like obviously CNED, even if you don't think that CNED is the old Charles Nennington of 2021, it's still a tier 1 level player.
Yeah.
So there's one Turkish player you could have. You could probably say, of that old team, I would personally say, you could say like Kushner, Elite.
Elite was
Had
really good.
some. Yeah, like I'm shocked they got rid of Elite. Like there's some players that it's like, oh, these are like tier 1 level players. You add like a CNED, you add maybe a couple of young Turkish players, and then you have like a good young, you know, like a good Turkish team right there. Right. So I do find this, yeah, just pretty strange, to be honest. Pretty strange.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what they're cooking over there, to be honest. Um,
No.
yeah, interestingly, I mean, BBL has merged their crown logo with some stuff from Pacific, and their logo actually looks kind of interesting. Kind of looks like a butterfly or something, spaceship. But yeah, they basically just played the Red Bull home ground with the Pacific roster. So it's because they currently don't have like a VCT roster. I don't think like fully figured out. So really curious to see what happens over there. Okay, let's move on to Sentinels. Sentinels, they signed Redux as their sixth man. They have reunited Gunter Penguin and Kaplan as their coaching staff. I believe Kaplan signed an extension until 2026 earlier this year. How are we feeling about Sentinels in 2025? Are they going to be able to recapture the magic that's dissipated ever since Ten's retired? My goat.
Then, yeah, I mean, again, my thing with Sen is that I think that they'll be pretty good to start the season. And I think that, well, it'll be interesting. Are they doing, do we know if like Sen are doing, you remember last year that they did like all the off-season tournaments
Mm-hmm.
and they just did so fucking many of them? And a lot of people have kind of, credited that somewhat to like, oh, well, obviously they're better than, fucking, most of these other teams because, yeah, they've been playing for fucking 3 months and these other teams have been playing for 1 month. Yeah, no shit. The team that's been playing for 3 months, 2 more months is better.
Yeah.
Do we know if they're doing that again? If not, then, who knows? They'll still probably be pretty good. But I do think that that was, particularly early on in the season, a pretty big help. The fact that, they knew what they were doing.
I think that they were pretty committed to playing a bunch of stuff. I mean, they've already played the Red Bull home grounds.
Yep.
They played, not that they like really played the Tarek Ludwig or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
it seems to me, and also I guess just from like a business standpoint, I'm pretty sure that the Sentinels organization wants them just in front of people
Yeah,
as much as
constantly
possible.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of like an organizational strategy in addition to also probably benefiting the team. I do know that they were very, very like consistently talking about the burnout after Masters because it was just like nonstop from the offseason all the way through Masters. But
Yeah.
Them's do be the trade-off you have to make sometimes, I think, if you want to be really good at the game. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be good. We kind of talked about this in the last podcast. As soon as M80 lost, it's like, yeah, obviously Gunter's going to go coach with Kaplan again. And yeah, I mean, America's going to be really interesting. Going to be really interesting to watch.
I mean, I think America's just kind of, it sends to lose, to be honest.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Go
Um,
Sen.
okay. A couple quick things
Okay.
before we end this. Safe confirms that he's the IGL for Vitality. This is a tweet from him that was just
Wait,
posted
where's this?
on
Oh, he
Reddit.
tweeted it?
Yeah.
Oh, so does that mean that they are playing with kicks and not Sender? That makes me hmm. Well, here's a tweet. Me taking on a leadership role is not an organizational decision. It stems from the trust that my teammates have put in me. We did research, considered options. We are all doing something we believe in. That's what matters. That uh already concerns me because what do you mean it was not an organizational decision? That worries me. That's the kind of thing to me that should be an organizational decision, at least to begin with.
But TMV in esports, the players run the team. Coaches are irrelevant. No coaches, remember? No more coaches. That's what EDG said. They won champions. Who are we to argue with them? No coaches. Players run the teams.
Yeah, that is a concern, I would say. Hold on, I'm just looking at this video of Team Vitality. Yeah, they put it out an hour ago. The announcement of Derke, and I think that is kicks and not Sender on this little whiteboard that they've got. Um, yeah, it is. So it won't be Sender, and it will be kicks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that. Huh. I mean, look, making safe your IGL, can it work? Yeah. I'm not here to say that it definitely won't work. But I think, like, for me, if I'm thinking about the team as a whole, like, I would probably say that Sender and Kicks, sort of similar level firepower, similar level players, but one is an IGL, and so it would have just made more sense to have Sender be your IGL, and then let's say, secondary goal and kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, you would think
Sorry.
so. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I also want to just quickly
Uh-huh.
revise a statement I said BBL, we're having no Turkish players. Looks like they're gonna have two. Sociable, the leaked roster by Purist, who's a very reliable leaker, is Sociable, Loon. Those are the two Turkish players. Chiwa, Profek, and Yampi. So what happened to Elite? Where is Elite going? Is my question, because he was insane last year.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing. That's why that still kind of makes no real sense
yeah,
to me, because it's just like, why would you get rid of someone who was so good last year? Doesn't seem to make sense. But okay, that team. I mean, again, if you're going part Turkish, though, okay, I mean, like I said, you've got enough. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But again, like adding in, like I don't know. I don't. I find that strange. Like, if we want to bring in players from 2021, like, and you're choosing Yampy, like you could choose Cena. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Sociable is a player that a lot of people have been hyping up for a while, though. So,
yeah. And
uh,
Profek had an insane last year in tier 2. He was like absolutely god tier
yeah,
on Go Next, and
yeah,
like you said, Chiwa, very very solid player from Ascend.
yeah. So it's not. Yeah, so it's not like they're bringing in a bunch of bums. Like
Yeah,
I don't mind the direction they're going in. I just find it's weird. Like if you told me that, I don't know, fucking this was like the Gentle Mates roster, or this was the, I don't know, pick any Giants roster, right? I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool,
yeah,
good. But it's just a bit strange that it's the BBL roster. Is the only thing. Like
yeah.
I have no problem with the roster. It's just the team doing it is strange.
It really is just the strange thing with this Pacific merger. Like, I'm so curious if this is just a straight up, like, if all these guys are just on 1 year contracts with the idea that they're just gonna mentor the Pacific team as like an academy and then just bring them up eventually. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's probably good for the roster moves. Is there any other things that you want to touch on, TMV?
Um. No. No. there is I would say there is a small elephant in the corner of your room
Okay,
that
bye.
maybe